Best of r/ Tales from Retail episode 111. Subscribe for edit videos daily. This story is fairly short, but I thought I should share it. Context: I work for a grocery store in the online pickup department. I bring the groceries that people order out to their cars. Because the customers are not shopping themselves, they don't get to choose exactly which produce item they want. Story: last Sunday a woman called the store and my colleague answers the phone. According to my colleague, C, the phone call went as follows. C: Hi, this is grocery pickup. How may I help you? Banana woman, BW: Hi, I picked up some bananas on Friday, and they are still not ripe. I would like to return them, and, if possible, I don't want to come into the store. C: I'm sorry ma'am, but we can't do returns unless you come into the store and go to customer service. My best advice is for you to give the bananas more time to ripen. BW: Okay. What is your name? C: Colleague's name. BW: Okay. Hangs up. My colleague came and told the rest of the staff about it, and we all laughed. I thought this was the end of it, and if it were, I probably wouldn't have posted it on Reddit. Today at work I was looking at all of the online surveys people had submitted to us, which are simply a 1-10 rating and comments. Most people were extremely grateful for the service we are providing, which is free of charge. But then I saw one survey that can only be from Banana Woman. If I could rate -5 I would. Service is terrible. We got organic bananas and they will not ripen. I called and there were no help. I talked to colleague, and he was worthless. He said it will take more time. Seriously? We bought these last Friday, 4:24:20 AM, and today is the eve of 4:27:20. We buy these from store because they normally care, but not this time. But if anyone really cares, I will tell you about another bad experience I had, which I have to fight with my Discover credit card company, which I will not got into right now, cause I don't think store cares. I showed my colleagues, and we all had another laugh about how ridiculous this woman is. This story isn't as great as some of the others on here, but I thought I should share. Thank you. Next. So this happened a few years ago when I worked at a major grocery store in Canada, but it's one of my favorite angry customer stories and figured it's a good one for this thread. I was working the customer service desk when this family comes up to the counter with their cart. The father proceeds to pick up a Reebok bag and tells me he has a discrepancy with his bill. I figured he just packed whatever product he was actually talking about inside the bag, which happened more often than not. Boy was I wrong. He pulled out a box containing sneakers and a Reebok receipt, claiming he didn't get his discount and wanted us to refund it for him. I honestly just stared at him blankly for what felt like a full minute before telling him that this was the wrong store, and he'd have to go back to Reebok and resolve his issue there. He then looked at the customer service sign behind me and goes, "Isn't this customer service? The store is too far out of my way. Just give me my 15% discount." Again, couldn't even fathom what was going on and just stared at him in disbelief. I had to explain to him that this wasn't a universal customer service desk, and that we only deal with issues regarding our own products. He had absolutely none of it and started yelling at me, claiming I was a terrible employee who deserved to be fired for refusing to help him and asks to speak with a manager. I told him that wouldn't be a problem and happily called one down. The look on my manager's face when the customer explained the situation was gold, but the look on the customer's face when the manager reiterated what I had told him, absolutely priceless. Thank you. Next. So, I, 20F, work at a well-known drugstore. Of course, we sell cigarettes and alcohol. Obviously, I'm not 21 so I can't, legally, smoke and drink. However, I didn't quite process that I wouldn't be able to sell those items either. That's definitely something I should have thought about when I applied. That being said, I am currently the youngest employee in the store. Also, transactions including cigarette and alcohol purchases cannot be made by me. If someone wants to purchase said items, I have to call a code 21 and someone has to take over the transaction for me. It's a little inconvenient, but it's out of my control. Most people are okay with it, but today I had someone who was really upset about that. The customer, 40M, wanted 4 packs of some kind of cigarettes, I asked him to give me a minute as I had to call the code. He sighed at me as I proceeded to call on the speaker. I knew he was annoyed that he had to wait, so I explained to him that since I'm not 21, the transaction has to be completed by another employee. He responded, "You've got to be f***ing kidding me." I stayed quiet. He then went on to rant that I should have been better prepared, and that it's ridiculous that I'm wasting his time. In addition, he claimed that I shouldn't be working a job in which I'm so limited and I can't sell the essential products. Again, I stayed quiet. Another employee came and finished the transaction and he rudely left, muttering about how I wasted his time and don't know what I'm doing. Obviously there's nothing I can really do about being 20, and not being permitted to sell 21 plus items. I get that it's a little sucky to have to wait for someone else to aid the transaction, but honestly, nobody is going to die if they have to wait literally an extra minute before smoking a cig. Edit/note, I'm in California, so I think the legal age to sell is 21. Then again, it might just be this specific company. Also, although I've been doing retail for a while, I was working in a clothing store, meaning there weren't any age restrictions. I'm still getting used to not being able to sell everything in the store. Thank you. Next. This happened about 2 years ago. It was my first holiday season at a particular beauty retailer. As you can imagine, there was a long line at registers, and not just a regular long line. It was a holiday long line, so you can imagine what that feels like. We have all hands on deck. Every register is manned, so we are plowing through as quickly as we can. There's only 2 characters, me, and rude customer, RC. I'm on the register closest to the door, and a customer approaches from my right side, so not the next customer in line. RC, do I have to wait in this line to do a return? Me, in my customer service alter ego voice, yes ma'am. Unfortunately you do, but I can give you a sample for the long wait. I know it's frustrating around the holidays. RC, do I really have to? Like, is there not another place I can wait to do a return? Me, you can wait in the line, and we will be happy to service you when it's your turn. RC was visibly upset. She huffed and walked to the back of the line, which was probably about 50 customers deep at that point. She did make a complaint about me in which she expressed anger about me telling her she had to wait in line. I just do not understand. Thank you. Next. We used to have this lady that worked with us who was quite forgetful. She'd often call me by another name, let's say Alan, and then remember my name and call me it. I didn't mind. She wasn't doing it on purpose. My real name sounds similar to a manager that we had at the time, and we had a colleague with the name she called me. When doing announcements, we had to say who it was aimed at, customer, colleague, manager, before the message, and she'd often mix them up. One time, she did a customer announcement for Alan, apologized over the tannoy, and did a manager announcements for me to come over. I got there at the same time as Alan and our manager with a close name to mine, all confused and wondering why all 3 of us showed up. It was for an override. I could do them but she couldn't, and then jump on to serve. Thank you. Next. Hello again. We sometimes encounter customers who'll put their produce in the same bag. Let's say green and red bell peppers. I know it's the same, but unfortunately those have a separate PLU number and it needs to be weighed separate. Some people know, but a lot of others don't. No big deal. We carefully open the plastic bag and pull out the green ones, weigh the red and switch, then put them back in the bag. It's kind of annoying to pry those plastic bags open so we can reseal it, and it takes much longer. Not to mention they'll stare me down and say, "Why are you touching my bell pepper? And why are you taking so long?" But I get it. They're the same price, so why not put them in the same bag? One day the stars aligned perfectly, and lo and behold, the apples of a certain kind and the pears have the same price per kilo. In the morning I'm on the register and a lot of older people shop, and I see that those 2 fruits are very popular. Also every customer remind me that those 2 are the same price. How do I know? They tell me. Every single one of them tell me that the produce are laid out in the morning, that it's the same price. The price tags I had put up. After a while this lady enters my lane and lays down a huge bag of apples and pears in the same bag. All mixed up. The stalks are sticking out, and it looks like it could explode any moment. She stuffed those things and they're really good. When the bag reaches me, I take it and try to undo the knot. That thing was impossible to open. The general conversation I've had that morning happened again. Why are you opening it? They're the same price, and I'll say, those are maybe the same price but they have a different code. I need to scan them separately. And that's the end of it. This lady didn't want to let go and said it again, louder. Those are the same price. I've had it. Every time the same explanation and the line getting longer. People staring at my fingers when I try to undo those impossible knots. I just wanted to get moving and do my job without explaining it over and over again. For different colored paprikas I get the mistake, but just different type of fruits? Why do you think supermarkets only operate in prices? We never operate solemnly on prices. It's all codes and numbers associated with the product. I slipped up and laughed disapprovingly. That's the same as putting a toothbrush and a carrot in it and expect me to enter one code because it's the same price. And I continued. The lady stammers and I really thought she was going to the manager to complain how rude I was. But thankfully she didn't and just kept silent for the rest of the transaction. Yeah, I was wrong, but I was done with dealing the customers who'll snap at me when I try to open their plastic bags back. Course I just was doing my job and not messing up the inventory. I was really done with customers thinking we memorize the product with the price and just type it in. Who does that? Thank you. Next. So at my store we have 2 registers, one on each side of our little island/counter setup, and at each side is a little lottery window in the counter, about 16 tickets on each side. Now we recently got a new manager, who is more or less okay, but she's still learning the ropes, and hasn't quite figured out the process of when to stock new tickets. Basically she won't put in new ones until we're completely out, as in completely out of all tickets. If there's a single ticket still in the case, she will not stock the rest until it's sold. Naturally this causes some problems with lottery customers. We have this one lady who's a regular. Most of the time she's not bad, but the other day she just snapped. Because of the new manager's weird policy, we've been low on tickets the last few days, and honestly most of the lottery people have been cool about it, which is weird, but this lady just loses her damn mind. It's disgusting that this case isn't stocked. It's disgusting. Seriously, she kept saying it's disgusting. How is it disgusting? I told her there was literally nothing I could do about it, and she knows this for a fact, but she keeps going on about how it's disgusting that we don't have lottery tickets, before storming out. Out of all of the customers at our store, it is always the lottery people who cause the most problems, and while most have been oddly cool since all the lockdowns started, we still have people acting like a bunch of fools.